All right, so we're going to start off with class pictures. So most of you chose to do either class pictures or senior pictures. So we'll go ahead and get started with that. This first image is by MIguel. And we're just going to break it down and start looking at these on the technical elements because I have noticed a few of you are a little off on your settings. So you're at ISO 100, 50 millimeters, which is a good lens choice. It's a normal lens choice. F7.1 at 1/100th of a second. So all of that looks good. Your lighting is coming from above, in front of, and a little bit above and to the side of your subject. Now, this isn't the lighting that you would want to create drama or anything in an image, but really what a class photo is doing is showing us a likeness of the individual. We want to properly represent them. So this is pleasing light, and it does that. It's very informational. It gives us all of the details here. Now, what's tricky about class pictures is that they can be really straightforward and you lose that creative side of yourself, right? They're very regimented in their approach. But you had your niece, I believe you said, bring in this little character. And by doing that, I think it eased her tension and her personality starts to come through. So there's more of a narrative in this just because you relaxed her more by having her incorporate this character. And then you have her like so dressed up with her fancy earrings and the flowers in her hair and her velvet dress. She's very formal looking. So overall, I think this came out great. This is a really good example of what we're looking for. It's not just a straight class portrait or class picture, but it's adding some of the subject's personality. You did a great job keeping that background really clean, not having hard shadows on there, keeping your subject far enough away that you're not getting those shadows. The crop on the top, you have quite a bit of space, and I would probably move that like on what I'm looking here about down to here so we could just get the bottom of her hand, not be cropping into that at all. But other than that, I think you did a really nice job of bringing personality to your class portrait. All right, I have this a little bit low. I can't see everyone's name. Yeah, this is Bridgette's image. All right, you're at ISO 100, 30 millimeters, f9 at 1/100th of a second. So those settings as far as the capture, the f9 and 1/100th of a second look good. But remember at 30 millimeters, you're kind of getting a little bit of an expansion of space. And normally when you're shooting portraiture, you're going to want to have a little bit of a longer lens. So 50 millimeters or longer is the way I would encourage you when shooting portraiture. The light that you're using, it looks like you're also using artificial light that's coming across the subject's face. I might bounce up a little bit more light to get it onto her forehead there. It looks like her cheeks and the bottom of her face is a little bit more lit than the top of her face. We see the light on the side here, but up in here it starts to fall off a little bit. So you also have a really plain background. You're using a seamless, it looks like here. And we have no shadow on that. And that's something that is really important at this stage is that we're not seeing that shadow on the backdrop. So that's looking great. You have your subject far enough away from the background. And she's wearing a lot of gray, like a gray shirt, a gray jacket, but she really stands out from the background. So you did a nice job defining her with the lighting. The narrative that you have, she looks like she's being playful, she's smiling, she has her head kind of cocked up, she has her bright red hat on, and her jacket falling off of her shoulders. So it has more of a playful narrative side to it. So we are getting more of her personality. I might scoot back a little bit more, get a little bit more of her entire body in there. It feels like it's cropped off a little bit suddenly at the bottom to me. And then this is the last image that's these more strictly class portraits, and this is by Jasmine. And you're at ISO 100, 55 millimeters, f5.6 at 1/30th of a second. So remember from the reading, 1/30th of a second is kind of a dangerous place to work when we're dealing with kids because they move around so fast. So I would encourage you here to open up your aperture one more stop, which it looks like you have that on your lens, and shoot this at 1/60th of a second. So that would be my number one recommendation. The lighting that you have is that informational lighting. It's coming across his face. It's giving good illumination without being like too dramatic or anything. We can see that there's 2 lights on him, and each of those lights is also casting a shadow behind him. So I know we talked about this, I think 2 weeks ago with you, just to bring your subject out further from the background so you're not getting those shadows right behind them. And then you can also light the background so that you're not getting those shadows. Those are pretty distracting right now. So pulling your subject out and eliminating those shadows would be beneficial. Also eliminating the bright area up here where the light's reflecting. Now this is partially because you're just using a wall, you're not using a backdrop. So if you used a seamless or if you used velvet or something, that's going to absorb more of the light and not reflect the light like we're seeing here. Your subject's face is kind of down, looking up at the camera. We have nice catch light in his eyes. We have the hat backwards and the shirt that says "do it" across it. So we're getting a little bit of his personality there. I'd love to see even more of that, but there's a calmness that he's exuding being behind or in front of the camera. So you did a nice job with that.